Yeah, that's what. Can you read this?
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Albany City Council meeting this Wednesday, August 24th, 2022 at 6 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you all. Can we have a roll call, please, Allison?
Councillor Kopczynski.
Here.
Councillor Johnson.
Here.
Councillor Smith.
Here.
Councillor Olson.
Here.
Councillor Novak.
Here.
Councillor Bartholomew.
Here.
Mayor Johnson II.
Here. Today we have a couple of proclamations. The first one is September 11th, Remembrance Day on page 3 of your agenda packet. And the second is Suicide Awareness Month on page 4. September 11th, Remembrance Day, September 11th, 2022. Whereas nearly 3,000 citizens of the United States of America were killed on September 11th, 2001 in New York City, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. as a result of unprovoked and cowardly terrorist attacks. And whereas we pay tribute to the men and women who perished and reflect on the bravery and courage of our civilian and military first responders and emergency personnel for their quick and selfless actions. And whereas it is also important to remember the countless families who were forever changed by the loss of a loved one because of these horrendous attacks. And whereas today marks the 21st anniversary of that fateful day, which renewed patriotism throughout the nation and spurred American citizens to civic action. And whereas throughout the state of Oregon, individuals, organizations, and communities will gather on the 21st anniversary and honor our nation and the memory of those who lost their lives on September 11, 2001. Now, therefore, I, Alexander D. Johnson II, Mayor of the City of Albany, do hereby proclaim September 11, 2022 to be September 11th Remembrance Day in Albany, and I invite all residents to remember with eternal respect those whose lives were suddenly and without cause taken from them. In witness whereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Albany to be affixed this 24th day of August 2022. Alexander D. Johnson II, Mayor. Suicide Awareness Month, September 2022. Whereas suicide is often a result of an untreated mental health condition, and whereas suicidal thoughts may, much like mental health conditions, can affect anyone regardless of their age, gender, or background, and whereas more women than men attempt suicide, though men are nearly 4 times more likely to die by suicide, and whereas suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 through to 34, and the 10th leading cause of death overall in the United States. And whereas for every youth suicide, it is estimated that 100 to 200 others attempt suicide. And whereas lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than straight youth, and transgender adults are nearly 12 times more likely to attempt suicide than the general population. And whereas community members of Albany should have access to the resources they need to discuss suicide prevention and to seek help. And whereas beginning July 16th, 2022, people experiencing a mental health crisis can now reach Suicide Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. Now, therefore, I, Alexander D. Johnson II, Mayor of the City of Albany, do hereby proclaim September 22 as Suicide Awareness Month in Albany, and I also call upon residents to shift their perception of mental health and spread hope and vital information to people affected by suicide and suicidal thoughts. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Albany to be affixed this 24th day of August, 2022. Alexander D. Johnson II, Mayor. Thank you all for your patience. I know we all look back on where we were on the day of September 11th of 2001. My phone rang several times, and I finally woke up and answered it. And the first thing the woman on the other end said, "Where'd you send my husband?" I had sent 43 people to New York City, or at least the East Coast. It took us a week to find all of them. It was one of the longest days of my entire life. And so all of us have those stories, and I thank you all for taking time to pay remembrance to those folks that lost their lives. Thank you. We have a second reading of ordinance, a vacation ordinance, Jefferson Street, VC 01-01-22, David Martineau, pages 5 through 11 in your packet. City Attorney, City Attorney.
Council, yeah, the hearing was, we already had the public hearing last meeting. It's been closed, and so I think Mr. Martineau is not.
Yeah, he's not
here
present.
tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then we can discuss it after that. An ordinance vacating the south 150 feet of Jefferson Street north of 9th Avenue in Albany, Oregon.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Council Novak?
Point of information, in light of current circumstances, I think we should consider tabling this until we've had an opportunity to hear from the Board of Helping Hands.
Thoughts, councilors?
I would agree.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, I would
And
agree.
on top of that, I had asked to have some kind of a drawing as to what the new building was going to look like, and demonstrating where the, I don't think you can call it a right-of-way, but the 16-foot wide place where fire engines can enter and then back out again and so forth. And we didn't get it tonight, so I'd like to agree. It'd be good to table this until we can think about it a little bit more.
Can I hear
See
from?
the details and think about it.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Let me check with the other counselors. Counselor, any other, Counselor Smith?
I'm not certain that the changes to the building are
Those-
relevant to the street vacation, the
Yeah,
separate issue.
That's correct. The application before you is just for the vacation of the street, and there's certain criteria that needs to be met and if the council determines that those criteria are met, then they have the option to vacate the property. But those 5 criteria that are in your packet are the only criteria that you should be considering at this point. But one of the, Director Rutgers and I talked before the meeting and wanted to remind that this is an application that was brought, I believe, at council's direction, and the city's the applicant in this process. If the council wants to table it or decides they want to wait several months or whatever, rather than denying the application or the vacation, we'd be better off if a motion was made to withdraw the application at this time. That way there's not findings that are going to be required of council to provide on the denial. But tabling it, if we table it to a date certain, then we wouldn't have to re-advertise. But actually, I think, no, we wouldn't have to re-advertise it, right? If we table it indefinitely, then we would have to re-advertise it to let the public know, even though the hearing's closed, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have more questions than answers, so I would move to withdraw the vacancy for the Jefferson Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no.
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 Can we do a roll call, please? Just clear, make sure we're clear.
Counselor Kopczynski.
No.
Counselor Johnson.
Yes.
Counselor Smith.
No.
Counselor Olson,
Yes.
Counselor Novak,
Yes.
Counselor Bartholomew.
No.
It's 3-3.
And this is to allow the vacation or deny the vacation for now? Withdraw it.
The motion was to withdraw the
To withdraw
vacation.
it, yeah.
Right, so to withdraw the application is not denying it or approving it, it's just removing the application, and if the city wants to come back with a new application later, they can do that. That's one option. Another option is to table this until a date certain when we think the board could come in and make a presentation to the council if they choose to. And I would, if we were going to do that, I'd recommend doing that give it at least 60 days out to give them time to get their ducks in a row.
But the present motion is to withdraw the
Withdraw.
application.
Correct.
And I'm going to say no. We've been discussing this for months. The situation that the application is about the vacation, not the building. So in good conscience, I can't say yes.
Well, do we need to do this if there's not going to be a building? Presently, there's not any,
But that, Counselor, that's not part of this discussion.
well, I know, you want me to shut up.
I
I'm
didn't,
not going to.
Counselor, I did not say that.
Okay.
Counselor Novak?
Thank you. I think that the point Counselor Olson makes is entirely relevant, because if for any reason the shelter would decide not to expand at the present time, I don't know why we would go forward with a vacation.
Well, the matter's been decided. I voted for it, so it's 4-3.
I'm sorry?
The matter's been decided. It's 4-3.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So if we were to go forward with the vacation and then helping hands,
We're not withdrawing it. That's what we decided today.
we're not withdrawing it, okay?
Correct.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
You voted no, which makes the vote 3 to withdraw the vacation and 4 to not withdraw the vacation.
Right. We're not withdrawing the vacation.
Okay.
Counselor Smith?
I believe that means we need to vote on the vacation.
That's correct. So now we need
Exactly.
to vote on the ordinance itself or a new motion to table this until there's more information, if that's what the council chooses to do.
Counselor Johnson?
Yeah.
Counselor Johnson, yes.
Yeah, hey, that's okay. Counselor Smith, no. Just so that, I know we've been doing this a long time, but just to see what happens, I would move then to table it till, let's see, what is this, to the second meeting in October.
Second,
All those in favor in tabling the meeting till the second meeting in October, which is what date?
Let me see.
I don't have my whiteboard up here.
It'd be the 26th.
The 26th.
Second meeting,
Second real meeting.
yes.
Second real meeting. So all those in favor of tabling this decision until October 26th, say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
That leaves it to me again. I'll say no as well.
I did not catch who voted no on the last.
Do a roll call, please.
accurately,
Thank you.
Thank you. Kopczynski,
Kopczynski?
No.
no. Okay. Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Smith,
No.
Counselor Olson,
Yes.
Counselor Novak,
Yes.
Counselor Bartholomew.
No.
Okay, and Mayor, you
No.
would vote no. Okay. So the vote is 4-3 to not table the motion. It's still up for action.
So now we'll need a motion to approve or deny the vacation.
I'd make a motion to approve the vacation of that portion of Jefferson Street off of 9th Avenue.
We have a motion and a second.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Can we have some
Aye.
discussion on this? This is the point for discussion. not cramming it through.
Would you like to discuss?
Yes.
Let's discuss. You have the floor, sir.
Yes. Does it make sense to vacate this when there's not going to be any construction of a new building and not any particular need for more parking?
I have a comment to that.
Counselor Smith?
I believe it does make sense to vacate that portion of the street because it's never going to be a street. It's never going anywhere. It's going to be a driveway for someone or for multiple parties. It's never going to be a street. There's no reason to keep it on the street inventory.
Counselor Novak?
I take issue with that, chiefly with regard to how it impacts Tina Vanderberg. I don't think it's right to do this. I don't even think she was noticed properly, and I did bring that to your attention, Mr. Mayor, and also City Manager. I received no response from either of you. I guess there's nothing I can do with my lowly vote, but I don't think this is right.
Thank you for your input. Counselor Johnson?
At the meeting where this was first read, Councilor Kopsinski did bring up a point that maybe they could do a variance on the parking rather than doing the vacation of the street. And I think that's worth looking into because for some reason, the more parking you put there, the more traffic you have there, foot traffic, people traffic. And I think that's just gonna cause more problems for the neighbors. So I think that was a good suggestion, but, so, there.
Any more discussion? We have a Counselor
I
Novak?
have a question. Is there any way to make changes to this once
Changes to,
the vacation, how it's done, what it looks like,
I have to consult the city attorney on that one.
Not in this particular motion, there's not, and I mean, we can have Director Rutgers come up. I'm not sure what they could change on it, but
Director
Yeah.
Rutgers, can you please answer Counselor Novak's question or at least shed some light on the situation?
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So your question about it, can we make changes to the vacation? This process, I know that there's been a little bit of confusion in tying this to the construction of a building. What we're talking about here with the vacation is literally just the vacation of a right-of-way. There's no conditioning what can be built there. Well, there's no conditioning of what a building would look like. That's done through a separate land use process. So this is literally the city in our evaluation has determined, this is all information that was presented earlier, that this was right away that the city was never going to build a fully improved street on. So in that effect, we might as well surplus that property. So now we vacate that right away and it returns from center line out to each adjoining property. And that's it. That's what the vacation does. Now, as with most vacations, we retain a public utility easement over that land because we've got sewer and water, I think, in there. And in this case, a 26-foot wide public access easement so that it still serves for the private driveways for each of those lots. But this process is literally just disposing of a right-of-way and making it so it's not public right-of-way anymore. I hope does that answer your question?
It does help. It does help. So basically, there's nothing to change because all you're doing is, this is not anything having to do with any sort of parking changes, build-out changes. We don't even know what's going to happen there. If I'm understanding you correctly, it's a right-of-way situation that doesn't impact anyone on either side. Am I understanding that correctly?
So there's been some discussion about there's another application that was heard by the Planning Commission. It was also discussed in the public hearing, which is, I'm trying to be cautious to not enter in new information here. Otherwise, we have to reopen a public hearing. But there's a conditional use permit for the Helping Hands project, which intends to, if the right-of-way vacation goes through, potentially, they have approval for it, but is contingent upon a right-of-way vacation. Now, that is to utilize their portion of this for potentially a parking lot. So but that is separate from this application.
Thank you.
Counselor Olson?
Question?
Counselor Olson?
Yes, if I were the owner of one of these properties on the left-hand side, those are single-family dwellings, I think. And now my property line goes out to the middle of the street, what is presently a street right-of-way. Could I plant a row of arborvitaes along that property line? Or something fairly substantial like that?
You could, with the, we have to be cautious as excuse me, as we do with most vacations, as I indicated before, we maintain a public utility easement over it, and then in this case, a 26-foot wide public access easement. There's going to be conditions in that easement. When you talk about a public access easement, you can't, plant a tree in the middle of it or fence across it that would prevent people from driving it. The intent of the public access easement, as you pointed out, is on the west side of that, there's actually three individual properties, three lots.
Yes.
So the intent of the public access easement is to provide access to those so they can still use them to drive their cars back there. So if you were to plant a bunch of arborvitae or put a fence across, your portion, even though you own out to center line, that easement on one side or the other is 13 feet, is maintained so that people can still access it.
So I couldn't plant a garden or anything like that on my property?
Not within the easement, but it's a 66-foot wide right-of-way. So each property on each side gets 33 feet. So there's 20 feet of additional property that will be attached to each adjoiner that they can do pretty much whatever they want with. It's not encumbered by a public access easement. There's an underlying utility easement, but our utility easements, we see fences and hopefully the right kind of trees planted in them, but that people have gardens, things like that in them all the time.
So do we have any other situations in the city like this where it's my property, but I can't use it? Because people have to be able to drive over it?
All over the place. Wherever there is an easement that runs across to private property, depending on whether it's a city-held easement or a privately owned easement between two parties, there's conditions of that easement that if you did things that would prevent the enjoyment of somebody else, the enjoyment of that easement, that would be a problem and a civil matter in most cases, unless it was a city easement.
Seems like an awfully awkward, unfortunate arrangement. I would think it'd be better for the city to own that narrowed easement through there if we're going to do that. I think it's leading to a host of problems.
Counselor Smith?
I can offer up a good example of an easement across private property that is like that. The residential development on Hill Street, south of Queen, between Hill and Main, backyards abut, and there's a sewer easement that goes all the way down to probably 34th from there, where lines have been replaced from time to time, and those are in backlot lines.
And so people can drive through there?
No, it's yard. It's people's yards.
Well, but yeah, but you can't do that here. You just told me you can't do that there. It's got to be available for somebody to drive on.
Well, that's a different type of situation. This is a residential yard that has an easement underneath it.
Yes, and if you do that here, I would think that'd be fine. If I've got trees there and the city wants to dig it up and take the trees out, well, I'd have to suffer that. But nonetheless, I could have a garden there, I could plant my arborvitaes, I can do whatever I want. It's my property, I would think. In fact, I'm sure the city probably has an easement under my backyard where there's a sewer line. If you had to dig it up, you could come in there and you could, it wouldn't bother me much, but it would bother my neighbor that has a garage over that easement. That would be particularly difficult, but nonetheless, difficult. That's a totally different thing, Marilyn, to my way of thinking.
Counselor Novak?
Thank you. So just to be clear, the houses that are on one side of Jefferson Street, they will still be able to park their cars precisely where they do now?
The houses on the west side, if they're parking on, I'm not familiar with where exactly they park, but if they're parking on their property, yes. If they're parking in the city right away, potentially yes. I'm not familiar with the configuration as far as like exactly where they park on a daily basis.
Well, if I can direct your memory to a visit that you made to Ms. Vanderberg in her home, I was told you visited her. You didn't visit her there?
Ms. Vanderberg and I had spoken prior to the public hearing here at City Hall.
So it wasn't at her home, so you haven't been on site?
No,
Okay.
it's not.
And I'm not good with north, south, east, and west, so I couldn't tell you where that is. It's right by her entryway to her home. And the other cars seem to park in front of entryways to their homes. So I would just like to know that the vacation doesn't hinder them from parking in front of their homes and entering the entryway to their homes, especially when there is only one entrance.
Being somewhat familiar with the diagrams that were showed during the public hearing, and where I saw the cars sitting on those, they would have been on her half or their half of that right-of-way, which would indicate that they could still park there. There's
Thank
going to
you.
be a 13-foot easement on both sides of that will have to be kind of maintained free and clear, and that's for the access for all of those properties.
Thank you. And then since Councilor Olson mentioned trees, this does not in any way necessitate the removal of any tree where the homes are privately owned in order for the city to have the access or for people to have public right-of-way?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Director Eckers, you said that this was a city request to have the variance, and yet I think I heard you say that Helping Hands, the property owner, had as tentatively requested that this happens to the street. So I'm a little confused. Is the vacation due to the property owner asking for it, or is it the city just saying, hey, we got to do it?
So if you, and I don't remember the exact dates, but if you recall back many months ago, and my memory's not as good as it used to be, but I think I actually brought this to council where we talked about a potential for an easement or a right-of-way vacation, and it was explained that if vacated, that Helping Hands would likely use a portion of their portion of the vacated right-of-way to provide parking. And at that point, the city council voted to, or through motion, I believe, to direct staff to initiate a right-of-way vacation application, which started this process going.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that it wasn't just the city saying this needs to be done. It was a request from a property owner. So I know this is going to go through, but I just wanted to make sure I knew what was going on. So thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Kopczynski?
Call for the question.
May I add one thing germane to Councilor Johnson's
We had a
last
call- we had a
statement?
Call for the question.
So I can't,
He
it was
called-
the city was the applicant
He called for the question, so
but the city was the applicant. If you didn't know that, in the Planning Commission, that's what came out. The city was the applicant. I was quite surprised to learn that.
we have a call for the question.
Yeah, if he calls for the question, he needs a second, we need to vote on it.
So we have a second. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in
Excuse me.
favor say aye.
Excuse me.
Aye.
Did we vote on whether, or?
We're calling for the question. Yes, that's what we're voting on now.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Mayor, according to Robert's rules, to do the call for the question properly, the call requires a
Explanation?
second. It requires a 2/3 vote to pass.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, it does not require a second. I'm reading my graph here, but it does require,
So
Point
It
of order
does
then,
require
so,
a vote,
it
right?
doesn't require a second.
Okay.
Go ahead.
so
Call for the question.
so can I, if I rescind, hypothetically, if we didn't have a call for the question, then we could just vote on it the normal way without having a 2/3?
Allison?
Yes.
Yes, that's
You need
correct.
the two-thirds is only for the call of the question vote. It's not for the actual motion or the ordinance itself. It's just for call of the question.
So do you want to call for the question, or you want to call for a vote?
That's,
Well, since proper procedure then, since I've already called for the question, it's been seconded,
Yep.
can I
You don't need
uncall that, call for the question and call for the vote?
You don't
You
need
may.
a second.
You don't need a second.
I'm sorry, I was,
We just vote on the question. or you
Okay,
literally
I withdraw that call for the question.
He withdraws the call for the question. Is that legal?
that's fine.
Sure, you can vote.
It is?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean,
So now,
Okay, so now I move that we approve the vacation as it was written up.
And that motion was already on the table. We
That was already on the table,
There's a
so.
motion.
That's
In a
what
second
we're
already.
discussing.
Yeah.
right.
I have one other thing I'd like to.
Okay, well, Counselor Novak had something first.
I just wanted to say what I did with regard to Counselor Johnson, who didn't know, as I did not know, that the city was the one making the request. I don't know, maybe only the Planning Commission knew that, I don't know, but I was very surprised to learn that. So the city was the one that asked for the vacation.
Correct. When the city council directed staff to initiate a right-of-way vacation, it's the city's property, so therefore we would be the applicant.
You say the council directed city to, but on city staff's recommendation. See, this is where it gets awfully weird to me, because staff comes to the council and says, we recommend that you do X, Y, Z, whatever, and then council does it, and then city staff turns around and says, well, you directed us to whatever.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, well, it doesn't necessarily always make sense.
Thank you, Director Rutgers. Counselor Smith, you had something?
Just a small thing. It hasn't been mentioned by anyone that I remember mentioning it. The two houses that are directly north of Ms. Vanderberg's house on this section of what used to be, what is never going to be Jefferson Street, are already owned by Helping Hands. Those two houses belong to this shelter.
So council, we have a motion? We've heard from everybody except for Counselor Bartholomew. Do you have anything?
Well, just for people to understand what an easement is over a private property, if you have a flag lot, that driveway is in the area of the first person's house, and then the second person has to have access, so then that is an easement over the first person's property, because it is by necessity, they have to have that easement in order to access their house. That is at the rear of the lot, which is a flag lot.
I don't think we have that any other place in the city.
Okay. So every counselor's had a chance to express their vote
I'm
or
building one.
concerns? Do you have a motion?
We already
It's on
have a
the
motion
table.
in a second. on
We
the
have a
table.
motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
No,
Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Kopsinski,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
Counselor Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Olson,
no.
Counselor Novak,
No.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passed 4-3. Thank you very much.
4-2.
4-2, I'm sorry, 4-2. Next on the agenda is business from the public. I need to read the statement. Where's my computer? Business from the public, persons speak wanting to provide comments may, oh, wow, okay. May submit written documents and register to speak at the website provided on the agenda before noon day of the meeting, appear in person at the meeting and register to speak using its sign-up sheet. The person that signed up to speak, let me see something. Let me go back to my agenda. Where is- Where's Island Wynn? Okay. I'm getting my bearings in this. So right now, the only person signed up to speak beforehand was Miss Island Wynn. National Day of Service, please. And there's several other people signed up to speak, and we'll get to those after she finishes her presentation. Please state your name and what city you live in.
My name is Eileen Wynn, Ilynn, and my last name is Wynn, Winn, and I live in Albany. Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me to speak, and thank you all for your service that you give unfaithful and erringly to our community. My name is Eileen Wynn. My husband and I raised 4 boys here in town. They graduated from South Albany, and they are all successful adults. Darcy is a retired builder, and I am a retired school teacher of 38 years, finishing my career after teaching at Periwinkle Elementary and Calapooya Middle School. We traveled a great deal in our upbringing, and we chose to live and raise our family here in Albany. It was a conscious choice on our part. Albany is blessed with people who care about their neighbors and blessed with incredible nonprofits who work tirelessly for others. Now that I'm retired, I am still passionate about volunteering and helping. And after I slept for the first year of my retirement, I volunteered to be the web administrator for the free website, justserve.org. This is a place for nonprofits, cities, schools, etc., to post their needs for volunteers. It's like a one-stop website for volunteers to find how they can help in the community. And I've given each of you a little packet about that information. I think it's very awesome that you read the proclamation about 9/11, because that's what I'd like to really invite you to today. So I'm here to invite you, your family, your friends, your neighbors, to come and serve others on Saturday, September 10th, in remembrance of 9/11. And that is the flyer you have on top of your packets. So the plan is we're going to start at 9 o'clock at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is on Waverly and Grand Prairie. It's where we had the big city pickup a few years ago, same place. We're going to meet by the flagpole. We're going to have a flag ceremony by the firefighters from Station 13. Commander David Solomon is going to speak about 9/11. And then we are going to introduce some of our nonprofits and the projects they have for us for that day. One of the nonprofits is Volunteer Caregivers, and their mission is to keep senior citizens in their home as long as they can safely live there. And so we are going to send people out to wash their windows outside, to clean their gutters, and do some yard maintenance for them as they get ready for winter. Another nonprofit we're going to help that morning is Mercy House International. The money raised at First Hand Seconds goes to help women and children in crisis as they escape domestic abuse. Many of these women need a safe place to live, a car to get to work, and various other items as they move towards safe living. So we're going to send a group down there, and we are going to wash windows outside and clean down cobwebs and make that a place that people want to visit. And then our third project, well, has many projects, is the wonderful city of Albany. This is my favorite one. This is Adopt-A-Park through the city. It's my favorite because a couple weeks ago, I got to wade through Periwinkle Creek in my shorts and shoes and clean out the creek so that the creek will flow and get out the debris and stuff. And we didn't get enough done, so we are going to have crews in the creek getting out debris. Another one is through the city partnership, we came up with Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And this is community neighbors who need help making their homes safe and pleasant without a hefty fine. And you could say blackberries, blackberries, blackberries. This year, we're going to help several homes clean up their yards. And then we're also going to work to improve Waverly Cemetery. And the police have already been working on that to make it a safer place. And now on September 10th, we're going to work to make it more pleasant because that's a major entrance into Albany. These Neighbors Helping Neighbor projects came about through the kind hearts of your city employees. For example, Heather Slocum, Rick Barnett, and the tireless Officer Chris Schindel, who I see is on tonight's agenda. These people let me know when there are citizens in Albany who need some help. And then we get volunteers to go help them. This is a way that we can pay respect for the National Day of Service and Remembrance by remembering them and then going out and serving our community. So if you know of someone who needs help, let me know. Please share this information with all you know and invite them to be there at 9 o'clock on September 10th. I am continuing to add projects to the website as people send them to me. So on your sheet, it says to go to Just Serve, look at the projects from 9 to 12:30, find the project you'd like, click volunteer, and then I'll get an email for that. I hope that you can be there. I hope to see you, and I hope you share this with your friends so that here in Albany, we can show that we care through our service to our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. I greatly appreciate you coming tonight. And for those of you concerned, I allowed her more time because I felt this is a valuable opportunity for City of Albany residents to watch this and serve on that day. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Jackie Montague. Shall I say candidate Jackie Montague?
Hi, I'm Jackie Montague. I am a Albany resident. I actually just signed up to ask you to approve the vacancy that you just did. So I will just take a moment to say thank you for those of you who approved that. And for those of you who are still concerned, I hope that this will allow for some change to happen. I heard all of you say there's a problem here, and everybody agreed there was a problem there. And I hope that this change will allow for something else to happen, for Albany Helping Hands to have an opportunity and the responsibility to do something with that area, and also give the police a little bit more power when they are called out there to do something, because it will be private property now. So thank you for those of you who passed that, and that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Next is Catherine Sandoval regarding the senior center. So all three of you coming up? There's two listed for the same topic. You both coming up? You both can come up. It's about the same topic. Mr. Gene Hebert.
Hello, I'm Catherine Sandoval, and I've been a resident of Albany for about 3 years.
Welcome.
2 of them were indoors because of COVID. So I'm still getting to know the community. And I'm here to talk about the senior center, or the lack thereof. And it's the perception of a lot of people in the senior community that there is not one. And there is no sign up over by the community center that says it's not, that it is a senior center. And you go inside and there is nothing to indicate that it is. And you go and look around and there's no exercise equipment for the seniors. There's nothing. There's no computers for the seniors to use. There's supposed to be trips that the seniors can go on, and we're told that they don't get enough people. Well, if the seniors don't even think that that's a senior center, it's not surprising at all that you don't get enough people. And you can always, if you don't get enough people for a big bus, you can get a little bus. You know, that's what little buses are for, less people. And there's so many things that are not happening at the senior center that, and the longer we wait to do it, there's not going to be that senior that wanted that activity around. So that is why I'm here, and I really feel very strongly that something should be done to correct these things, because the building was built because it was labeled as a senior center. And since that time, I don't know who decided that seniors don't like to be called seniors, so we just won't put that name up. Does not make sense. So my friend Jean wants to speak also.
What do I have, 26 seconds left?
Yes. Well, we can give you 3 more minutes. Who's running the clock over there now? Gabe, go 3 minutes, Gabe.
Go ahead.
Use the microphone.
Yeah, please use the mic.
Okay, thank you very much. Gene Hebert, 82 years old. My wife's 83. We used to hang out at the senior center because we hung out there with old people. And the community would bring in all kinds of goodies for us to snack on. Allie was the most amazing person you've ever had to deal with. The lady that was in charge of serving us coffee was a war hero's wife. So we hung out there, and then we'd play pinochle. And then we'd sit down at the computers, and people were there to help us. There's no computers, it's just a wall. And then eventually at noon, we would head into the pool room. Used to be about 60 of us. Now there was very few. But there's more seniors that are starting to come into Albany again. And we had 3 of the best pool tables that a person supplied to the city. They weren't the city's pool tables. An old man paid for those, and his chauffeur would bring him there on a daily basis. And that we had those tables to use. And those tables, I'm telling you, when those tables were taken away from us, you literally ripped the hearts out of guys that were Second World War guys, Korean guys. Women used to come in too. There's some amazing women that would come in. And a lot of the pool room was a chance where we got to sit, bring our coffee, and visit. A lot of them didn't shoot pool, but it was a place that we had that we could go to. And now I went over the other day, I took pictures. Our pool room has a bunch of boxes in it. And they said, well, it's going to be a yoga room someday, okay? And we walked around and we took pictures of the activities. There was 2 activities for the entire, from what we could tell, from the entire building. Well, then somebody said, well, we furnish trips for people to go on. We left the Blue Ox RV, and there's a couple of there that love to go on trips with the senior center. So they call. Sorry, the trip's been canceled because not enough people signed up. So the trips that are taking us on, I'm not sure where they're going or even if they have enough folks. So I know I get kind of worked up about it, but I'll tell you, there was nothing like the Albany Senior Center. It could still be a community center. I don't care. You know, there's a couple ladies in there that bring in these things that they work with. Y'all, I got 9 seconds. Okay, please give us 2 pool tables. Take the boxes out of our room. Give us back our table where Ellie doesn't even sell any coffee. When I talk to her, Ellie, no, we don't. No one comes in here to buy a soda. But she volunteers to work in her. She's the most amazing person you guys have. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank
for
you,
my
sir.
time.
Thank you very much, sir.
I would just like to say one more thing. That we were talking before about the room where the pool tables were, and I went over there to look, and he had told me that they told him that they were taking the pool tables out, and this was a while back, because they were going to put something in there with another organization where they could make more money. Well, that's enough to make steam come out of my ears. And then I went in there, and there was absolutely nobody. There was nothing in there. Nothing.
Thank you.
And so these people that could have been playing pool for however long that room has been empty are still mourning, you know, that possibility that could have been. And so he went in there, that was like 2 weeks ago I went in, and there was nothing. And then he went last week, and he said it's just packed with, they just put all kinds of stuff in there to use it as a storage space.
So thank you. What I'll do is I'll ask the city manager to look into it, and he's nodding his head yes. And so he's over here. He's a handsome guy right there. I'll have him, he'll take a look into it.
So, Your Honor, do we want to discuss this now or later
Later.
in the meeting?
Later. This is
At
not,
this
this
meeting.
this is not.
This is business from the public.
This is business
It's not
from the public.
time for
Yes.
debate.
So
not
we want
time.
to discuss it at the end of the meeting?
During business from the council, yes.
So, end of the meeting,
Yeah, so
We
we'll talk at the end of the
we
meeting.
might talk about it. I hope we talk about it.
So if you're going to stick around, we're going to talk about it at the end of the meeting.
They'll talk to us at the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
We'll have a discussion amongst ourselves, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So next agenda item, is that every, no, we have Tina Vandiver.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today, I spoke to the shelter, and they had given me information concerning what they're going to do to the street. Well, basically, when they're done, I will have 8.5 feet to park. They are cutting into my trees. I gave them the documentation to the lady, but basically, they are giving basically 16.5 feet, but I have a drainage system there and a bumper, and I can only pull in up to 8 feet away from my fence. So basically, there's 8.5 feet for me to park, and it will kill my trees and the stuff, the vegetation, the roses and stuff I have out there.
That's not what our director just told us.
This is the paperwork I received today.
Do you have enough for all of us to take a look at? Well, we're going to have to wait, so.
Here again, we don't have any plans as what's going to happen.
So
I took photos of the drainage system, where everything lies. I went to and had it enlarged to show exactly what's happening. And they have on their existing property line after the vacation and the construction of the parking lot. They have it all laid out of what they were going to do. And basically, that's what is left.
okay, thank
It's
you.
not the 33.
So what I will do is, once we finish, towards the end of the meeting, I'll have the director talk with us about that. Okay?
Okay, well, thank you.
Is the director still here? Okay, thank you. So, I'm confused now. So first reading of an ordinance. So I'll call you up, Matthew, when we get to that part of the meeting. Unnecessary noise ordinance AMC 7.08-050. Officer Christian Dell, pages 12 through 15 in your packet. City Attorney?
An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, AMC Section 7.08.050, unnecessary noise.
Would the council like to make a motion to read the ordinance the second time in title only?
Move to have the motion read a second time in title only.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
I think there may be public objections to this someplace, so I'm going to vote no, so we can hold it over till our next real meeting.
So that'd be September 12th, I believe?
14.
14th. Okay, we're going to hold over to September 14th. Thank you, Counselor Olson.
You're welcome.
Next is adoption of the consent calendar. Would a counselor like to remove anything from the consent calendar or pull an item for discussion?
I move that we adopt the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
I've got a
Aye.
question, Your Honor.
We have a question over here.
Yeah.
Which is, well,
I'm going to ask the attorney, can we adopt a resolution on a just by
I was gonna
consent
ask that.
calendar?
You can. You don't have to. You can separate it and make a motion to separate that out if you'd like.
I don't need to, but I'm just wondering if we're doing it legally. to
Oh,
just
yeah.
whiz through it.
great
Thank
question.
you.
Great question, Counselor. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Next one is business from the council. Let's start, I started over there last time. Let's start with Counselor Kopsinski.
Okay.
Well, that's unfair to them going back and forth. I'm starting here and going this way.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight. Counselor Bartholomew.
I'm just looking forward to talking about water management.
Water management. Today?
Not tonight, just
Okay.
in the future.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Counselor Smith.
I wanted to say that I was out of town last week attending my husband's 60-year high school reunion in Eugene. Wow. South Eugene High School, class of 62. At least 100 members are still going strong.
I was born in 65.
Yeah, don't go there. We had a lovely time, and I mention that because one of the people that I spoke with there, one of Stan's classmates, has a very good friend in Albany and comes to visit his friend frequently. He was going to be here last Friday to celebrate his friend's birthday. They like the same kind of music, and they get together to listen to music together. They also like Albany's restaurants, particularly Ba's Vietnamese comfort food downtown, and Gambaretti's. He really likes our downtown. He mentioned that Albany is a nice size community that has a number of chain businesses that are in other communities that are bigger than we are, but our stores are nicer than the ones in Salem and Portland and Eugene. So he was very complimentary about Albany. It was nice to hear. I didn't ask him. I didn't tell him I was a city councilor. He was just making a comment. So
Thank you. So, Counselor,
Yeah.
do you want to bring up the topic?
Nothing in particular, but I am going to top Maryland and say that my high school reunion was our 67th,
Wow.
and I couldn't make it, I'm sorry to say. But Stan's trying to catch up with me, but I'm staying ahead of him.
So did you want to address the concern that they brought about the senior center?
Well, yes, when we're done with business from the council, yes, I very much would like to go ahead. and
This is
talk
this is
about
when you do it.
it. Oh, okay. I don't recall the council voting on kicking you folks out of the seniors, out of the building and having it no longer be a senior citizen center. We've got some really hotshot consultants from Portland, Walker Macy. They originally in their plan wanted to tear down, remove the building and have it be a Saturday market there. And I objected to that, and the building is still there. But it may have been them that recommended that senior citizens like me shouldn't be involved down there on the waterfront. So I am, somehow I'm too busy, and if you want to, does age, is that the qualifier for coming to wash my windows? I am 85, but the second story windows are about 20 feet up there, so I don't think your volunteers are going to want to get up there. But anyway, I don't know where that idea came from to say, we don't need a senior citizen center anymore. So, and again, I don't believe this council ever voted for it.
So we actually did.
Do you
Yes, you
remember
did.
We
voting
actually
for it?
did.
Yes.
We actually
Mr.
did.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, please, go ahead, Peter.
First of all, the seniors have never been kicked out of the community center, so let's correct that
Well, their stuff
fallacy.
has been.
It's and you did vote to change the name to the Riverfront Community Center, and I will say that we should be careful not to conflate that with pressures that have been brought about by the budget, by the pandemic, and now by hiring difficulties, because the Parks Department, as you know, to you and from hearing from them, has a very difficult time right now in hiring staff, along with a lot of other departments and businesses. So good stewardship requires us to use our capital assets and our equipment, our resources, the best way we can, and to be more inclusive about using those assets. So to include more of the community in a community center is nothing but a good thing. Now, it is regrettable, of course, that you might lose some services or amenities, but of course, as you know, the Parks Department has been under budgetary pressures for a long, long time, and that is actually what explains their need to create revenue producing lines of business in the Riverfront Community Center. So it's a little bit unfair at this point without the Parks Director or one of her deputies to be here to talk about this. But that explanation right there, in summary, should tell you why that step had to be taken. And yes, the council did approve that, but it's also the case that seniors were never kicked out of there, and they're still very much welcome there. And I stand by for your questions.
Counselor Olson, Counselor Kopczynski.
Just anecdotally, I'm 73, will be 74 next month. My wife is 78. We take the tours on a semi-regular basis. We've taken 2 this year. We did sign up for one more that was canceled. They said they didn't get enough riders. We said, okay, and they refunded the money. And my wife does take yoga classes down there. So we have no problems.
Counselor Olson?
I'm pointing to.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
So with regard to what our senior friends brought to us tonight, and I remember a discussion we had after the changing of the thing to the community center, and a lady wrote an article in the paper and said how bad she felt that the books were missing and certain things that had been there before for seniors were missing, and I commented on it and was made to feel really bad afterward. My question is, I mean, you're saying we never kicked them out. Of course we never kicked them out. But if you take away all the fun things they like to do, it's not kicking them out. That's true. What I'm wondering is there any way that maybe we could put back one pool table? Could we give them, I'm just asking if maybe we could somewhere in our budget, well, he's asking for 2. Okay, do I hear 2? So if there's anywhere in our budget, especially since those were owned not by the city, if I heard you correctly. They were owned by someone else privately. If there's a way to get them back,
Please address Peter. That's what we're.
I don't know. Okay, fine. I'm addressing Peter. Yes, if there's a way that we could get those pool tables back, at least 2 of them, on behalf of these folks, and maybe put a little library back or some of these things that they are so missing. If we could do that, I think that would be a worthy use of some of our dollars in our discretionary budget, or, pardon me, the computers, whatever we can do. I know what he's saying is.
Councilor Novak?
Counselor,
Yes.
As you've heard from Councilor Kopczynski, not everything has been taken away. There are still many things there. So I will make note of this about pool tables and find out what the story is. But like I said, without Director Ledane here, it's premature to pretend that we know all of what the program offerings are at the Riverfront Community Center.
And may I ask, because I might have some computer equipment that I would happily donate, a monitor and an older, if someone can make it work, I think it's functional, but because there may be people who have computer equipment that they'd be happy to donate to the community center on behalf of the seniors or whoever might want to use it. I just think there has to be a way that we can do something to put some of these things back that mean so much to them. That's all I'm asking.
We should look into that.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have anything else? Because it's your turn.
Well, if it's my turn, I do have some things, yes. So first of all, I know Officer Schindel is here, good, and hi, and Chief Harnden is not, but I want to say publicly on behalf of Mr. James how grateful he is to the chief and to Officer Schindel by the cemetery has been very much cleaned out. And thank you, Eileen, and this group of Just Serve. I'm so thrilled. I'm going to, if he's not watching the meeting, which he may not be, I will let him know that you already have it on your agenda for September 10th to do further cleaning in the cemetery. I've seen pictures, my friends. I haven't driven by there, but it's a world of difference. No one can hide anywhere. The brush is gone, and he's so grateful. And so, because I am one who brought him and his concerns before you, as well as he stood before you, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a different world back there, and he's ever so grateful, and as I am on his behalf. And then there is one other constituent whose information I've been putting off, because when I had my golden opportunity and both Chief Harnden and the sheriff from Lynn County were here, I didn't have my notes. And I've been waiting for them to come back since, and they're not here. So tonight, without putting it off any further, one of my North Albany constituents wanted me to reach out to the sheriff and to Chief Harnden in particular and ask what type of calls and how many calls have there been with regard to the new low-income apartment complex on Hickory across from Samfit. And this is information that we need. When Albany reports on crime, how is North Albany trending in these statistics? I represent Ward 1. I represent, we all represent the entire city. But on behalf of my ward, we need the data. We need to know the repercussions of the planning and development in North Albany. I know that certain neighborhoods, which previously were, felt to be extremely safe, including, where our city manager lives. My sister shares that same neighborhood, and it was formerly a place that you'd be happy to live and very, very safe. And now we have drug deal. We have the police are there often. We have bicyclists that ride through the neighborhood and steal things and break into cars. I have constituents who are coming to me and saying, we're looking for a place, we're going to leave because, or we're considering leaving because we want to be someplace that respects law and order. And I know on behalf of our police force, to some degree their hands are tied, but I also have constituents saying, well, we need answers. We need something besides what can we do? The city of Albany, if ever I was going to be in favor of making an ordinance, it would be something having to do with public safety, because I don't think the state has the right to tie the hands of those that we look to keep us safe. That's just not right. So I'll leave it at that tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just
go ahead.
one quick question for Chris Schindel. Do we still use the SEPTED program?
So what's the program?
SEPTED,
Oh,
crime prevention through enhanced, yeah. Does that seem to be very, very effective?
We do.
What is that?
SEPTED's crime prevention through environmental design. Its goal is to, instead of barricading or creating a fortress, is to change the way that the community looks at it. So instead of like bars on windows and pretty much creating a fortress, it's about bringing in lighting, cutting down bushes, bringing access and vision to your property. A lot of like what we did at the cemetery. That's the SEPTED model. There's quite a few cities that use it and pretty successful statistics if you look at the data behind it.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm certified in that. We go out to different properties. I've gone out to places in Lynn County to do it because they don't have anybody that's certified to do it, but we do that still.
thank you, Officer Schindel. Is that anything else? Okay. Counselor Johnson?
Okay, just a couple things. When, I gotta get the name right, Eileen Wynn, apparently she was asked to come, and so I just want to make sure that we don't put the clock on the people we asked to present.
That was my mistake. 'Cause I
No,
thought
and
I sent
that's
the
o-
message to Matt, not knowing it was Gabe that was running the clock.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, 'cause I thought, okay. And then also, I've been thinking about this for a couple months now. If we're gonna make the 3 minutes, we need to kind of make it for each person. Sometimes if it's not a subject we like, we cut them off, and if we like it, then we let them go a little bit farther. So just to be consistent, I think, is the only thing I'm asking, you know.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while. And then my last thing is my friend Kinsey, I don't think she's here, wrote me and said, I have another resignation from one of my appointments. And I says, Kinsey, will this end? But anyway, my library board appointment had some health issues, and so he has to resign. So if the council knows anybody who's interested in the library or whatever, just shoot me an email, let me know, because I'm running out.
A lady stopped by my office today that was asking about the library board. She's in Ward 3. So I'll get a hold of her for you. I'll
Well,
reach out to you.
That's, I mean, yeah, it's not I mean, they do a lot of good, so, and this gentleman that's not going to be honored anymore, I felt bad because he had a lot of experience, and he did. And so, and the Human Relations Committee, I finally found someone that's going to go on it. I had to twist a little arm, but she says, well, I don't know. I'd rather not, I don't want to be too bold and say things. I says, no, that's what we need. It's people who say things. Don't just sit back and let it go. And so she agrees. So now, and then I see Ann Catlin back there. Farron wants to, she thought it was going to be like tonight. So I told her that it didn't get in on time for this meeting. So if you could just let her know when it's going to happen, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, now that she's a go. So we want to keep her. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And tonight I have,
Can I have a second shot at it, very briefly?
go ahead, please.
I saw Director Rutgers talking to Ms. Vandercross. And did you reassure her that she's going to be okay? Can you comment on that?
So yeah, I did chat with Miss Vanderberg just briefly, and just made sure that she was. I think there was maybe some a little bit of confusion of where the property lines were, so we were able to kind of point those out on the map for her. So and just let her know that if she has any other questions, I'm always happy to answer them. So
Is she feeling better about it, do you think?
I don't want to speculate as to her her feelings, but it's I like I say I'm happy to help answer questions whenever I can.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So a few months ago, the Bicoastal Media reached out to me about doing a a 10, 15-minute interview on the radio every 2 weeks. So we've had the second one. It's on Wednesdays at between 7:30 and 7:40. And it were recorded on Tuesday. But the great thing about it is I'm putting out information about events in the city, some of the things that we're doing. And so the feedback's been really positive. And so we've reached out to other mayors to participate in the valley, and it's going well. So if you get a chance, 7:30 on not this Wednesday, but the next 2 weeks from now, there'll be a quick blurb, a few minutes, and then John Moore and I kind of chat about things going on in the city. And it's going over well. I'm getting phone calls and text messages about it, and people like hearing that kind of thing. So feel free to, if you want me to discuss a topic, like Lisa, I mentioned Lisa, the Downtown Association, via AVA, the Carousel, several nonprofits in that. And so it's a really good tool.
So is that at 7:30?
say-
I'm sorry, I listened to him, but I don't get out there.
So
till like
Clue 1340 at 7:30 to 7:40 a.m. It's early, just drive time.
I know, and they
John Moore
don't
and
have
I-
repeats, so.
Yeah, John Moore and I, we talk about.
They had mentioned it a couple weeks ago, and so I thought, well, that's going to be a good thing, so.
Yeah.
I think
It worked
that's
out
great.
really well.
Yeah, great.
And then next we'll have the city, there is a person that reached out to me about serving on a citizen advisory group, and that was like literally, I asked Marilyn about it today, so I'll be connecting the two of you up in the email, okay? And she's actually in Ward 3 as well. And then we have a full slate of candidates running for office, 12, I think, total. That's the biggest number I've seen since I've been on council. So good luck to all the candidates in that particular endeavor. And so next up is our city manager's report.
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor. The community conversations the series that we'd had ongoing we'll resume that again on the evening of Tuesday, the 6th. And you'll see that advertised on the city's social media. And I'll put a little thing in the Friday email this Friday as well. But if you're, as just to refresh your memory, that's just an opportunity to gather citizens together in an informal setting away from City Hall to talk about issues that are of concern for them. And usually we've selected a topic. The last time we did the East Albany plan, and we had it over at Cascade Grill. This time it might be a little bit of a free-for-all because we don't have a theme yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we decide on that.
It is also on the city website.
Do we have a place yet?
We do have a place, although I'm drawing a blank. Matt, is Matt?
It'll be at the Riverfront Community Center.
Well, that's appropriate.
Are you going to mention Laura Hawkins' Police Academy thing that's coming up?
We'll definitely have that in the Friday email as well, but since you mentioned it, the police department is having a Citizens Police Academy coming up, and the particulars, the details of that will be forthcoming.
Thank you. And with that, the next meeting dates are Monday, September 12th, 2022, work session at 4 p.m., Wednesday, September 14th at 2022 at 6 p.m. And thank you all for coming this evening, participating in the meeting. Have a good evening. The meeting's adjourned.